A man without a home sits at a crowded railway station begging for coins from passing travelers. As he waits, he witnesses something extraordinary. A mysterious figure appears at the platform as though conjured from thin air. The beggar observes as this enigmatic stranger assists a lady who has just been attacked and robbed. When officers arrive on the scene, they wrongly suspect the stranger of being the perpetrator. The homeless observer quickly corrects the authorities and clarifies that the actual criminals have already vanished. During questioning, the peculiar man provides bizarre responses. He states he travels nowhere and never boarded any locomotive. Authorities request he remove his dark eyewear, but he declines, asserting that this world's brilliant illumination causes him discomfort. His strange conduct leads officers to believe he suffers from mental instability, resulting in his arrest and removal. At Manhattan's Institute for Mental Health, Dr. Mark Powell treats patients suffering from various psychological disorders. He counsels a gentleman named Ernie who lives in terror of microscopic organisms and believes stepping outdoors will prove fatal. Ernie covers his face with protective gear and continuously frets about dangerous bacteria throughout the facility, including contaminated meals. Following his appointment with Ernie, Dr. Mark discovers a new case has been transferred from a different medical center. Dr. Chakraborty describes how this individual maintains he originates from an alien world and denies being human. Despite receiving powerful psychiatric medications for several weeks, the subject persists with his extraordinary claims and experiences complete memory loss regarding his past. Dr. Mark encounters this patient who identifies himself as Prot. Prot maintains he hails from a world named K-PAX situated in the Lyra star cluster, positioned 1,000 light-years distant from our world. He describes traveling here through light-based transportation and confirms this represents merely one of multiple visits to our planet. When Dr. Mark states that nothing moves faster than light according to Einstein's theories, Prot argues they have completely misinterpreted Einstein's work. He maintains that entities can journey at what he terms tachyon velocity, exceeding light speed. Prot demonstrates fluent English skills, explaining it represents a simple language compared to his native tongue. When questioned about his human appearance, Prot offers a confusing explanation. He claims he manifests as human while on Earth but resembles a K-PAX being when present on his home world. He explores Earth driven by fascination with what he categorizes as a Class Ba3 planet, indicating one still developing through early evolutionary phases. Subsequently, another resident named Howie inquires about Prot's homeland. Prot portrays K-PAX as exceeding Earth size, encircled by 7 violet moons. He describes 2 stars called Agape and Satyr, explaining that their celestial alignment produces extraordinary visual splendor. Ernie pays close attention to these fascinating accounts. At his residence, Dr. Mark's spouse Rachel discusses resuming her educational career and considers after-school supervision for their child. She attempts capturing Mark's focus by mentioning something absurd about losing her head, but Mark confesses his inattention. Rachel experiences disappointment over his constant work-related distractions. Returning to the facility, Dr. Mark shares Prot's recorded sessions with fellow physicians. During one recording, Prot declares his Earth arrival occurred 4 years and 9 months prior and asserts his age as 337 Earth years. His colleagues consider Prot completely delusional and recommend stronger pharmaceutical intervention, though Dr. Mark prefers deeper understanding before treatment. Throughout another consultation, Dr. Mark inquires about Prot's early years, but Prot redirects discussion toward K-PAX reproductive processes. He characterizes it as an agonizing and disagreeable experience his species approaches cautiously, contrasting with human behavior. Mid-conversation, Prot begins rapid note-taking, claiming he recalled crucial information for his documentation. He clarifies that recording encounters with individuals and locations represents standard practice on his planet. Prot then observes other facility residents. He studies Bess, who maintains silence believing vapor will emerge from her mouth if she speaks. Ernie explains Bess has resided there since youth, allegedly for destroying her home through fire, though Howie corrects this, identifying it as an electrical mishap. Prot develops interest in Doris, a resident who refuses leaving her quarters. When staff attempt delivering meals, she hurls food containers at them. Prot peers into her space and discovers a dining table arranged for 2 individuals. He requests joining her, and remarkably, Doris smiles for the first time in years while adjusting her appearance. Prot questions the dual place setting, and Doris reveals she has awaited someone's arrival for over 10 years. While others label this delusional, she considers it romantic, comparable to observing an extended sunset. Dr. Chakraborty reports unusual examination findings to Dr. Mark. Prot demonstrates enhanced light perception and can identify ultraviolet radiation invisible to humans. Prot noted that Earth's twilight hours resemble K-PAX illumination, clarifying his sensitivity to brightness. During their subsequent meeting, Dr. Mark darkens the room entirely. For the initial time, Prot removes his protective eyewear, commenting that the lighting resembles home. When asked about relatives, Prot explains K-PAX existence differs entirely from Earth. They lack traditional family structures, with offspring raised collectively rather than by biological parents. Prot displays irritation when questioned about marriage, emphasizing K-PAX lacks such institutions. No partnerships, governance, or disciplinary systems exist there. He asserts his species has progressed beyond requiring these concepts. When Dr. Mark probes about legal systems, Prot dismisses Earth's methods as outdated, especially retribution concepts. During a family celebration, Dr. Mark's sibling recommends he re-establish contact with his separated son Michael. Rachel suggests inviting Michael for holiday festivities, though Mark doubts his attendance since Michael typically celebrates with his mother. Mark recalls that Abby's husband Steve studies astronomy and requests assistance testing Prot's assertions. Steve initially ridicules the concept but consents to supplying astronomical questions only genuine experts could resolve. Meanwhile, medical staff alert Dr. Mark about Howie, who remains stationary beside a window seeking the bluebird of happiness. This constitutes one of 3 assignments Prot provided him for recovery purposes. Within the garden area, Prot encourages Ernie to overcome his phobia of invisible microorganisms. Dr. Mark later reprimands Prot for disrupting patient care, emphasizing he represents a patient rather than medical staff. Prot calmly challenges why Dr. Mark has failed helping these individuals successfully, then provides responses to Steve's astronomical inquiries. Steve contacts Dr. Mark expressing astonishment. The responses demonstrate perfect accuracy, containing details so specialized that only a select few astrophysicists globally would possess such knowledge. Steve cannot identify any missing space researchers matching Prot's expertise. Dr. Mark becomes consumed by Prot's situation, even transporting recordings home for analysis. He escorts Prot to the observatory where Steve's associates enthusiastically greet him. When they inquire about light-speed travel, Prot refuses elaborating, warning the knowledge would enable them to annihilate themselves or others. The researchers present star maps requesting he chart his planet's trajectory. Prot creates comprehensive diagrams featuring exact calculations that precisely explain peculiar activity in a nearby binary star system that had mystified them for years. The following morning, Howie identifies a bluebird outside and enthusiastically indicates its presence. Other residents congregate, repeating the word bluebird collectively. For the first occasion in years, Doris exits her room to observe it. That evening, Bess approaches Prot and declares her belief that he embodies the bluebird. Another resident named Sal questions Prot regarding light travel, hoping to flee the institution. Sal arrived there due to severe sensitivity to human sense, with Prot representing the sole person he can endure. Sal desires traveling to K-PAX, but Prot gently clarifies he can transport only one individual back with him. As information circulates, additional residents inform Dr. Mark they prepare departing for K-PAX. Troubled, Dr. Mark confronts Prot about providing residents false expectations. Prot explains he never guaranteed everyone could travel, only one person, and he intends departing July 27th at precisely 5:51 in the morning for safety considerations related to light-speed transportation. That evening, Dr. Mark recognizes something important. Prot arrived 4 years, 9 months, and 3 days earlier, with July 27th marking exactly 5 years. Dr. Mark suspects some traumatic event affected Prot 5 years previously. Rachel voices concern about his excessive involvement in Prot's situation, but Mark insists he must connect with Prot before the departure date. On Independence Day, Dr. Mark invites Prot to his family cookout to introduce him to typical domestic life. Prot arrives accompanied by another resident and her spouse. Upon hearing the family canine barking, he barks in response, apparently attempting communication. He then informs Mark's daughters their pet becomes agitated when they conceal her footwear and advises against startling her on her hearing-impaired side. Throughout the meal, Prot quietly accumulates plant-based foods on his dish when Rachel mentions his vegetarian preferences. While examining family photographs, Prot notices Michael's absence from the gathering. Rachel describes Mark's estranged child from his first marriage. Later, while pushing Natalie on playground equipment, Prot appears tranquil until children activate water sprinklers. When Natalie invites him joining the water activity, he suddenly becomes agitated and attempts removing her from the area. His distress and unexpected physical strength require multiple adults to control him. He only settles after someone deactivates the sprinklers. Despite this episode, Dr. Mark maintains Prot poses no danger, believing he attempted protecting Natalie from a threat only he perceived. With the departure date approaching, Mark proposes hypnosis to comprehend what might occur on July 27th. When Dr. Mark searches for Prot for the hypnosis appointment, Howie jests that he explores Iceland and Greenland. The residents claim he will return because he brought his eyewear, which he would not require on K-PAX. Prot vanishes for several days but eventually returns, maintaining he genuinely visited Arctic territories. Dr. Mark explains hypnosis represents the sole method to verify his claims. During the procedure, Mark requests Prot's earliest recollection. Prot describes attending funeral services for his close companion's father, who perished in an occupational accident at a meat processing plant. Advancing chronologically, Prot recalls showing his friend celestial bodies and explaining that represents his origin. The youth comprehended star patterns because his father had purchased a telescope. Then Prot mentions his friend crying out when something dreadful occurred. As his pulse rate increases dangerously, Dr. Mark terminates the session. Following intuition, Dr. Mark instructs his assistant Joyce to investigate meat processing facilities in rural locations with unobstructed night skies, hoping to determine Prot's actual identity. Meanwhile, to settle disagreements about who will accompany Prot to K-PAX, Howie establishes an essay competition for residents competing for the opportunity. In subsequent appointments, Prot continues recounting memories concerning his mysterious companion, whom Dr. Mark designates Pete since Prot refuses revealing the actual name. The year was 1985 when 17-year-old Pete's girlfriend conceived. Fearing he would replicate his deceased father's fate, Pete eventually secured employment at the meat processing facility as a stunner, responsible for incapacitating cattle before slaughter. Despite circumstances, Pete wed his girlfriend Sarah, and they welcomed a daughter named Rebecca. During this period, Dr. Mark learns Howie attempted strangling Ernie, but surprisingly, Ernie feels peaceful. The encounter made Ernie understand he controls nothing regarding death, liberating him from his paralyzing anxieties. Howie explains this represented one of 3 assignments Prot provided him, maintaining both he and Ernie have achieved recovery. In the following session, Dr. Mark inquires where Prot existed on July 27, 1996. Prot claims he resided on K-PAX but detected Pete experiencing difficulty, prompting his Earth return. Visibly disturbed, Prot discloses that Pete attempted drowning himself following some horrible occurrence. When Dr. Mark pursues details, Prot begins weeping, stating Pete remains unprepared discussing it. As Prot exits the session, he accidentally drops his eyewear and a writing instrument. Dr. Mark observes markings on the pencil displaying a New Mexico telephone code and letters spelling Salva. Joyce traces this to Santa Rosa, New Mexico, and they examine local publications for incidents corresponding to Prot's timeline. They uncover that in July 1996, a man named Robert Porter was reported drowned following a violent assault on his family. Dr. Mark journeys to New Mexico and consults with local law enforcement, who present him the case documentation. Robert resided with his wife Sarah and daughter Rebecca approximately 20 miles from town. The officer describes the tragedy. While Robert was absent, a vagrant invaded their residence, attempted assaulting Sarah, and murdered both mother and child. When Robert returned discovering them, he killed the attacker using only his hands, then vanished. His remains were never located in the river where he allegedly drowned. Outside the residence, Dr. Mark observes a damaged swing structure and irrigation system, details matching Prot's memories perfectly. The sheriff mentions they ceased searching for Robert long ago and remains indifferent whether the New York individual actually represents him. Dr. Mark returns home and informs Rachel he discovered his objective but regrets the knowledge. On July 26th, residents submit their essays for final evaluation. Dr. Mark prepares for what might constitute Prot's final day, summoning him to his office and offering refreshment. He bids farewell and expresses desire to eventually witness K-PAX. Prot quietly recommends that before fantasizing about distant worlds, Dr. Mark should value his own world and family more deeply. He suggests inviting son Michael for holiday celebrations, observing that while nobody on K-PAX would miss him, the situation might differ on Earth. As a final effort to anchor Prot in reality, Dr. Mark displays a high school yearbook photograph of Robert Porter. The similarity is undeniable, but Prot calmly denies being Robert. He states he will acknowledge being Robert if Dr. Mark acknowledges the possibility he genuinely originates from K-PAX. Departing, he instructs Dr. Mark to care for Robert. Howie requests Prot's final assignment. Prot advises him to remain on Earth and prepare for any eventuality. That evening, Dr. Mark stays at the facility with Rachel to observe what transpires at the precise departure moment. He awakens at 5:48 a.m. and hurries to Prot's quarters. The surveillance camera feed disconnects as Prot begins moving, but Dr. Mark discovers the room seemingly vacant. Then he locates Prot unconscious beneath the bed. As medical staff transport him away, other residents observe silently, no longer identifying him as Prot. Shortly afterward, they realize Bess has disappeared. Her quarters remain empty except for her essay declaring she possesses no home. The residents whisper that Bess traveled to K-PAX. Prot remains in an unresponsive condition for weeks while Dr. Mark visits consistently, informing him about others' progress. Howie now serves at the library. Ernie prepares becoming a crisis counselor, but Bess never reappears. Dr. Mark contemplates Prot's final statements about the universe continuously expanding and contracting, with individuals reliving their decisions endlessly. Prot had cautioned him against repeating errors initially. Embracing this guidance, Dr. Mark finally attempts reconnecting with his son Michael. The tale concludes with recognition that sometimes the most significant journeys lead not to distant worlds, but back to loved ones who remain nearby. Whether Prot truly represented an extraterrestrial visitor or a man named Robert Porter escaping unbearable grief through elaborate imagination remains mysterious, touching deeper questions about reality, healing, and hope's transformative power.